What's up everyone, welcome back to Doki Doki Drawing, I'm NihongoGamer. The monthly manga challenge for February was a Shojo Manga Love Confession, as suggested by CathyCat in one of the previous meetings. For this Shojo Manga challenge, I decided to go about it pretty much the same way that I went about the November manga challenge, for which the theme was goals. For the challenge that CathyCat suggested, it's actually two challenges at the same time. It's a love confession, but it's also got to be Shojo Manga. So before I could even start coming up with characters and story ideas, I had to decide to myself, what exactly is Shojo Manga? Because on the one hand, you could just look at it and say like, okay, it's a stylistic thing. Characters always have giant eyes and they're always being emotional and it's always a romance story. But then I think back to some of the shoujo manga that I've actually read myself and I'm like, it's not always about those elements. For example, is shoujo manga just the main demographic of the people who read it? Is it actually always a stylistic thing? Can it not be shoujo manga if it isn't a certain type of style? Is it just a genre created because there's a large number of the same themes that come up, like comedies or romances or like bickering between mean type girls? Or maybe it's just the fact that the main character is a girl. Now, if shoujo manga really is about the art style, then is it because of the characters and the characters' faces? Is it because they're always realistic or chibi style or comical in style? Is it to do with the fact that there's a large number of screen tones or a very specific kind of screen tone that's used? Then going back to the young female readership being the demographic, maybe it's just relevant topics, things that a young female demographic would want to read about, or situations that a young female demographic would find themselves in frequently. And then I just considered it another way. Maybe shoujo manga is just anything that doesn't fit into shonen manga. Because when I've spoken to Japanese friends about manga, it's not always that girls have to read shoujo manga and boys have to read shonen manga. Often the stories like Naruto and Dragon Ball, those are exciting stories that girls like to read as well. So I started to wonder, maybe shoujo manga is just better at dealing with stories that don't tend to sell as well in shonen manga magazines. Now, as for the love confession aspect of this challenge, like I'm going to have a separate page talking specifically about that story topic. But the basics are, is it going to be from the girl's perspective or the boy's perspective? Who's going to be doing the confessing to who? Is it a sad confession? Is it a happy confession? Maybe it's a confession and something really funny happens as a result. And then as the main last topic, I just wanted to go through what are the main things that I know about shoujo manga. And I thought, well, to be honest, when I was a kid, I watched and read a bit of Sailor Moon. I also know some comical yonkoma style comic strips. And then I've watched some Japanese drama TV shows which are originally based on shoujo manga. So I haven't read those comics, but I do know the stories because of the adaptation. And so going on from Japanese dramas, I thought one of the really common things is having two people who are a really awkward pair, or they seem like an awkward pair, but they're actually perfect for each other. Of course, you won't know that until later on in the comic. So at the end of making this mind map, I just decided to make a red circle around the things that I felt were the most important, because I think all of these aspects on the page are important. But the 2 points that I'm going to take away and try to focus on were the fact that it needs to be focused on a female readership as a demographic. So something that a young female readership would find interesting to read. And then just secondly, thinking of shoujo manga as another magazine, which is not shonen manga. What are some stories that are going to do well in a shoujo manga magazine, which perhaps don't really belong in the typical shonen manga magazines? It doesn't mean it has to be the opposite of a shonen manga, but it's like a good opportunity. If it's not shonen manga, then it may as well explore a bunch of themes that might be a little bit deeper, or a little bit more sensitive and nuanced than what I might typically read in a shonen manga magazine. So the first page was just a general outline. What do I know about shoujo manga and what would I kind of need for a love confession? So page 2 of my mind map was focused mostly on specifically what am I going to need for a love confession manga. Since I'm not focusing on making it the most original manga ever written, I'm just going to go with a fairly standard setting, one boy, one girl. Since the girl character is most frequently the protagonist in shoujo manga, I decided to come up with some ideas for what her personality might be. Is she a tsundere? Is she outgoing? Is she really loud and boisterous? Maybe she's the opposite. Maybe she's very timid and shy. Maybe she's funny. Maybe she's super clumsy. To be honest, maybe she's all of those things at the same time, so that whoever's reading the manga can feel like they can put themselves in the main character's shoes. And to be honest, even before I started coming up with ideas for the boy character, who I do feel is important, he's more of a tool, right? Like the boy character is going to be there to help the girl character go through her personal challenges and personal issues. Like, for example, maybe she needs to get over the fact that she's really shy and timid. So the perfect boy character in that case might be a character who's really loud and boisterous. So it's funny watching them clash in terms of personality. But then maybe through this love confession, she finds a way to get over her personal challenges. And so thinking in this way, I figured instead of coming up with all the features for the boy character next, I actually decided to come up with ideas for the best friend character. Is it a best friend who's really good at keeping secrets? Or maybe it's a best friend who's a bit like the pet in a magical girl anime? They're just there so that the main character is not actually talking to themselves. Maybe they help the main character realize all the various truths in their life. Like there has to be someone to help the girl realize, okay, that's the boy you need to go and confess your love to, so that the main character doesn't seem to randomly have their epiphany moment. And then they're not really bad guy characters, but the parents and the teachers at the school, they're the ones who are going to be putting pressure on the main character. So without these parents and teacher characters, I feel like it's possible that the girl is likely to just take her time and only speak to the boy whenever she feels like it, but never really make any progress. But this is a manga. We want people to constantly be reading it and feel like something exciting is always happening. So there'll probably be teachers putting pressure on them, saying like, okay, you're not allowed to sit next to each other on the bus, but she's like, oh no, but I have this challenge. I have to pass my love confession note over to the boys somehow. So the parents and teacher characters, they're obstacles. Then I went through some of the emotions that the girl is likely to experience in the manga. Who knows, maybe there'll be one emotion per episode. Maybe there's an episode where she's really nervous and really anxious about meeting the boy, or another episode where she's really happy and she's having a great time, or another episode where she's really sad because she's got some sort of misapprehension about how he feels about her. Then I added one more point here. I actually wrote originality. And the reason I put this in here is because I feel like a love confession is kind of an obvious thing for a shoujo manga. It's like almost always going to happen at some point between two characters somewhere. So instead of just saying the story is a love confession, maybe the story is a love confession between someone who she normally wouldn't like, or a love confession to someone who has the exact opposite personality, or a love confession to someone who her parents absolutely despise. It could be a love confession to someone she's literally just met that day. And last but not least, the most important character. Just kidding, it's the boy. And the truth is, I mean, just kind of as a joke, I wrote, to be honest, he could be some guy. Anyone will do. But I am joking, like, even though it doesn't matter specifically what his personality is, there are aspects that do matter. Like, is he very direct and clear, and so the girl always knows how he feels about her? Or is he very indirect and hard to read, and she's gonna make her love confession, but it's scary because she doesn't actually know how he feels, because he doesn't really show his emotions very clearly? Or maybe he's a really mysterious character. Like, he's not actually super popular, but for some reason, the girl finds him really attractive. Maybe he reminds her of someone that she knew before, or some celebrity that she's a big fan of. And then last but not least, probably really key to coming up with a story idea for this love confession manga, was the girl's personal journey. If she just goes up to the boy and confesses her love to him, then it's like, okay, it was an episode, a girl confessed to someone, who really cares? But how are we going to turn this into a challenge for her? What does she need to overcome to make this confession? Is it her own personality? She's actually really shy, or is it the opposite? She's really loud and outgoing, and even though she wants to make this love confession, every time she approaches the guy, he's kind of scared and runs away because she's so loud. I've written in here, it could be that she is her own enemy, but who knows? Maybe she has a rival that she has to battle against in order to get the attention of this boy. Now, at the end of this, I did actually sketch out a very vague idea, which I'll be showing to you, but before I got there, I had to come up with random ideas. So nothing like in the previous pages, which are just general ideas like, what is shoujo manga? What kind of character is the girl in a love confession? On this page, it was just straight up random ideas. Any idea I had, just put it on the paper. Are they two people in a drama club? Maybe two people meet in a supermarket. Perhaps they meet online. That would be quite relevant to the current day. Do they meet through playing video games? That's something I'm familiar with, so I can draw on my own expertise. I say expertise, but my own experiences with video game culture. Going back to the idea of meeting in a club, perhaps they're both in the club, but they don't actually want to be there. Like they're both, like they've got some common ground because they both don't really want to be part of this club. Or perhaps because I'd been watching Cobra Kai recently, maybe they're in rival clubs, so they're at different karate dojos. So they like each other, but they have to fight each other in the tournament. I feel like a key thing for me at this point was coming up with the word but and then something else. So yeah, they meet online, but that can't just be it. It's like they meet online, but they actually already knew each other in real life, which is actually quite a common storyline in movies. Or they meet through video games, and so it should be a match made in heaven, but one of them is better than the other, and so they've got competitive personalities, and even though they probably should be going out with each other, one of them always wins at the end of the match, and so they just can't get along. Another idea I had, which is very common in anime, is one of the characters just is really annoying, but it's actually for that particular reason that they're able to communicate, because both of them are unable to get close to other people through normal conversations. And so actually being annoying to each other is a good excuse to relate to each other and speak more and get closer. I think maybe because I watched various Japanese TV dramas, this is a really important theme to me. Two people who clearly shouldn't be together, but it's like precisely for that reason that these two absolutely must be together. So to wrap up this video, I'd like to share with you the main story that I've come up with for this manga. And then in the next video, I'll be showing you some rough sketches of characters that I think I might be using in the manga. So here's the story idea. My childhood friend came back a real jerk. I don't know if this is important to other artists, but to me, like, the title had to sound like a manga that you've heard of. Like, oh yeah, I feel like I've heard of a manga with that title before. So here's the general story. There's a girl and a boy, and they used to be really good friends. But then one day, the boy has to leave. He's going to boarding school. So many years pass and they don't see each other for a very long time. And now it's present day, also known as episode 1 of this manga. The boy comes back from abroad. Every one of his old friends are out standing outside the school. They're really excited because they want to see what he looks like. They want to know what kind of person he's become. But he's a real jerk. So there you have it. It's a really, really simple idea. They used to be really good friends, but when they meet each other finally many years later, he's really changed and he's become a proper jerk. The main reason I came to a story like this was that I needed to draw 5 to 10 pages, and those 5 to 10 pages ideally need to be the actual love confession. So I don't really have time to do many episodes explaining all the stuff that happened before, but I can do like a flashback. Anyway, that's all I have to show you for now. Look forward to seeing some rough sketches in future videos, and also check out more episodes where I meet with Tony and CathyCat and talk about their manga ideas that they're also putting forward for this Shojo Manga Love Confession challenge. So check out the other videos in this playlist, subscribe to Doki Doki Drawing, and we'll see you next time.
Big floor hair, bubbles, sparkles, butterflies, all of that stuff. Girls have been gifting each other chocolate instead, and they're like, yay, we're so big friends. And you have like the voice in the bottom left corner going like, this sucks.
Wait a minute, is this me and Tony?
What?
This is absolutely brilliant. And check out, I love the face on this girl here.